Discipline over comfort is the single most important principle that separates those who achieve greatness from those who settle for mediocrity. Comfort tempts you to take the easy road, to avoid challenges, and to settle for what feels safe in the moment. It whispers that waiting for the right time, the perfect conditions, or the ideal motivation is acceptable, but in reality, comfort is the silent thief of potential. Every time you choose ease over effort, you shrink your capacity to achieve. Discipline is the antidote to that shrinking, the force that pushes you beyond what is convenient into the realm of growth and accomplishment. Choosing discipline over comfort is not about seeking pain for its own sake. It's about making decisions that align with your long-term goals rather than short-term feelings. It's about recognizing that the satisfaction of now is fleeting, but the results of consistent effort compound into something extraordinary over time. Comfort may feel good for a moment, but it leaves a residue of regret. Discipline, on the other hand, builds momentum, character, and self-respect. It is the quiet force that works behind the scenes while the world applauds ease. Discipline over comfort requires awareness and self-honesty. You must recognize the moments when you are being seduced by convenience, whether it's procrastination, distraction, or the temptation to cut corners. Every decision has consequences, and the choice to indulge comfort is a choice to slow your progress. Discipline asks you to acknowledge that what feels difficult today is the very thing that will elevate you tomorrow. It teaches you that immediate discomfort is temporary, but the rewards of persistence are lasting. It is important to understand that discipline is not rigid punishment. It is a structured commitment to yourself. It is the act of setting standards and holding yourself accountable to them, even when the world does not. When you choose discipline over comfort, you are actively investing in your future self. You are saying that your goals, your dreams, and your potential are worth the effort required to protect them from the ease of inaction. This mindset shifts the way you approach challenges, turning obstacles into opportunities to prove your resilience. Comfort is deceptive because it often masquerades as peace, rest, or safety. But resting too long without purpose stagnates growth. Safety without progress is a slow form of decay. Discipline over comfort recognizes the value of calculated effort and deliberate action. It understands that life rewards those who move, even imperfectly, toward their goals. Each choice to push forward, to endure, and to persist strengthens your ability to handle greater challenges in the future. The practice of discipline over comfort also reshapes your identity. Every time you choose effort over ease, you are sending a message to yourself about who you are and what you are capable of achieving. You reinforce the idea that you are someone who does not bow to fleeting feelings of resistance, who does not let temporary discomfort dictate long-term outcomes. Over time, these choices accumulate into a reputation, both internally and externally, that defines your character and your trajectory in life. Discipline over comfort is also a test of your priorities. It forces you to distinguish between what truly matters and what merely seems urgent in the moment. Comfort distracts with the illusion of necessity, pulling you toward trivial tasks and away from meaningful effort. Discipline requires you to focus on high-value actions that move you closer to your vision, even if they demand sacrifice. This prioritization is what allows extraordinary achievements to emerge from ordinary days, as every decision compounds towards significant results. It is critical to recognize that discipline over comfort is a muscle. It grows stronger the more you exercise it. The first few times you choose effort over ease, it may feel unnatural, uncomfortable, or even painful. But like any skill, repetition builds strength. With each conscious choice to act, even when you would rather avoid it, you reinforce a habit that eventually becomes automatic. The longer you practice this principle, the less tempting comfort becomes, and the more natural disciplined action feels until it becomes an inseparable part of your daily life. Discipline over comfort also cultivates resilience in the face of adversity. Life is unpredictable, filled with setbacks, failures, and moments that test your commitment. Those who have trained themselves to choose discipline find it easier to withstand these challenges. They do not crumble when discomfort arises because they have already conditioned themselves to embrace it in pursuit of something greater. Discipline turns resistance into training, adversity into preparation, and discomfort into a familiar companion rather than a dreaded enemy. Finally, discipline over comfort creates freedom. Not the freedom to indulge whims, but the freedom that comes from mastery over oneself. By consistently choosing effort over ease, you gain control over your habits, your time, and your results. You stop being a prisoner of circumstance or fleeting emotions, and you start shaping your life intentionally. Each discipline choice is a declaration that your potential is worth more than temporary satisfaction, and that your future is forged by the consistent actions you take today rather than the comfort you seek in the moment. Action creates momentum, and momentum is the invisible force that separates those who achieve their goals from those who only dream about them. Too often, people wait for the perfect conditions, the ideal timing, or a surge of motivation before taking a step forward. But life does not wait, and neither do opportunities. Momentum begins not with planning or thinking, but with doing. Every time you take action, no matter how small, you set in motion a chain reaction that propels you forward. The key is to start before you feel ready, because readiness is the byproduct of movement, not the prerequisite. When you act consistently, even imperfectly, you generate energy that fuels further action. One small step leads to another, and before long, what seemed impossible becomes attainable. Action reduces fear and uncertainty because it shifts you from a state of passivity to a state of control. Inaction breeds doubt and hesitation, while motion breeds confidence. Each effort, each attempt, no matter the outcome, builds your capacity to handle bigger challenges, opening doors that would have remained closed if you had stayed still. Momentum is cumulative. It grows with every deliberate step you take towards your goals. It is not about giant leaps, but about consistent, forward-moving effort. Even when results are not immediately visible, action compounds quietly, setting the stage for breakthroughs. The key is to resist the temptation to wait for clarity or certainty. Clarity comes from engagement, not contemplation. You discover your path, your strengths, and your solutions while moving, not while standing still. Action also strengthens discipline and commitment. Every time you follow through on what you start, you reinforce a pattern of reliability with yourself. Momentum is fueled not only by external results, but by the internal trust you build in your own ability to act. This trust grows with repetition, creating a virtuous cycle. The more you act, the easier it becomes to act again. And the more you act again, the faster your progress accelerates. Momentum becomes self-perpetuating, and each step forward makes the next one feel natural. Fear and resistance are natural obstacles, but they are diminished through action. Hesitation and overthinking amplify doubt, while doing confronts it directly. Momentum is the antidote to paralysis. By taking the first step, you break inertia and begin a chain reaction that overcomes the mental and emotional barriers that previously held you back. Once movement begins, it becomes easier to continue because action creates its own energy and propels you forward even when motivation wavers. Action also provides feedback, which is critical for growth. Plans and ideas are limited by imagination, but reality tests them and reveals their strengths and weaknesses. Momentum allows you to learn faster, adapt more effectively, and correct course without losing progress. Waiting for perfect knowledge or ideal circumstances often leads to stagnation, but movement generates insight. Every effort becomes a lesson, and every lesson builds the confidence and competence necessary for larger successes. The power of action is magnified when paired with focus. Momentum is not just about movement, it is about directed movement. Random activity without intention produces little lasting impact, but focused action compounds rapidly. By committing to meaningful, goal-directed steps each day, you create a trajectory that carries you forward even through setbacks. Momentum, aligned with purpose, accelerates results and builds a sense of inevitability around achievement. Action also shapes your mindset. The act of doing builds courage, resilience, and self-belief. When you move, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you previously thought. Momentum creates a psychological advantage. It rewires your perception of difficulty, turning challenges into opportunities to continue progressing. Confidence is not given, it is earned through repeated acts of engagement and persistence. Each action strengthens the belief that you can handle what comes next. Even in the face of uncertainty, Action is a stabilizing force. Life rarely provides guarantees, but momentum gives you leverage. When you move forward, doors begin to open, connections appear, and opportunities emerge that would have been invisible to a stationary observer. Action turns possibilities into probabilities and probabilities into results. The more consistently you act, the more unstoppable your forward motion becomes, and the less you rely on external conditions or fleeting motivation to keep progressing. Finally, action creates momentum because it transforms potential into reality. Ideas, plans, and intentions remain dormant until you apply them through effort. Momentum bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Each step taken compounds into progress. Each effort builds on the previous, and what starts as a single act grows into a cascade of achievement. Action is the engine. Momentum is the acceleration. And sustained forward motion becomes the vehicle through which dreams are realized. Resistance builds strength, and strength is never forged in ease or comfort. Life's challenges, obstacles, and pressures are not punishments. They are instruments of growth. Every difficulty you encounter is an opportunity to expand your capacity, develop resilience, and cultivate character. When you push through resistance instead of avoiding it, you train yourself to handle more than you previously thought possible. Resistance is the crucible in which potential is transformed into power. And the greater the opposition, the greater the growth that awaits. Facing resistance teaches patience and perseverance. It forces you to slow down, assess the situation, and find solutions instead of giving in to frustration or fear. When everything comes easily, strength remains shallow. But when you confront resistance head on, you discover untapped reserves of courage and determination. Each time you overcome a challenge, no matter how small, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than your circumstances suggest, and that knowledge becomes a foundation for future triumphs. Resistance also reveals your weaknesses, and in doing so, gives you the opportunity to address them. Comfort allows you to remain ignorant of your limits, but pressure exposes them. When you encounter obstacles, you see where your skills, mindset, and discipline fall short. Strength is built not by pretending those gaps do not exist, but by deliberately working through them. Resistance becomes a teacher, guiding you toward the areas that require development, refinement, and focus. Growth through resistance requires consistency. A single act of endurance produces momentary satisfaction, but repeated confrontations with difficulty build lasting capability. Strength is not a one-time achievement. It is a habit formed through continual engagement with challenges. Every resistance you face and overcome adds another layer of fortitude, shaping your ability to thrive in future adversity. Over time, repeated encounters with obstacles condition your mind and body to respond with resilience rather than retreat. Resistance builds mental toughness, the ability to remain composed and decisive under pressure. Life will always test your patience, focus, and determination. When you train yourself to confront resistance, you develop the capacity to maintain clarity and confidence in difficult situations. Mental toughness is the backbone of leadership, achievement, and personal growth. And it is cultivated only through repeated exposure to challenges that push you beyond your comfort zone. Resistance strengthens your character by demanding integrity and discipline. In moments of opposition, you are confronted with choices to take shortcuts, to give up, or to persevere with consistency and purpose. Each choice to persist despite difficulty reinforces your values and shapes your identity. Strength is not merely physical or skill-based, it is moral and mental. By consistently acting with resolve in the face of resistance, you reinforce who you are and who you are becoming. Physical and emotional strength are also products of resistance. Just as muscles grow by being challenged with heavier loads, your emotional resilience and capacity for endurance are expanded by facing obstacles. Each trial you endure conditions your mind and body to withstand greater stress, adapt to pressure, and recover from setbacks. Resistance is not a barrier to progress. It is the mechanism through which progress becomes meaningful and lasting. Resistance teaches humility and perspective. It reminds you that life is not meant to be effortless and that every achievement carries the weight of effort and sacrifice. By facing difficulty, you learn to appreciate progress, to value persistence, and to understand the effort required to attain meaningful success. Strength built in ease is fragile, but strength built through resistance is grounded, resilient, and enduring. Resistance also fuels innovation and creativity. When confronted with obstacles, you are forced to think differently, adapt strategies, and find new ways to overcome challenges. The pressure of resistance stretches your imagination and problem-solving abilities, pushing you to develop solutions you would never have considered in comfort. Strength, in this sense, is not just endurance. It is the ability to navigate complexity and emerge capable and empowered. Finally, resistance builds confidence through evidence of accomplishment. Each time you face opposition and move forward despite it, you accumulate proof that you are capable of handling what comes your way. Confidence is not an abstract feeling. It is the sum of experiences where you confronted difficulty and persevered. The more resistance you embrace, the more confident you become in your ability to meet future challenges, creating a cycle of strength, courage, and unstoppable growth. Focus and prioritization matter more than talent, motivation, or luck because they determine how effectively you use your time, energy, and resources. The world is full of distractions, trivial tasks, and competing demands, and without clear focus, even the most capable individuals drift without meaningful progress. Prioritization is the process of deciding what truly matters and directing your attention toward those high-value actions. Focus is the discipline to stay on course despite noise, temptation, and the pull of the immediate over the important. Together, they create clarity, efficiency, and the momentum needed to achieve significant results. When you focus on what matters most, you amplify the impact of your actions. Multitasking and divided attention create mediocrity because energy is scattered, effort diluted, and results fragmented. Prioritization forces you to identify the tasks that will move the needle in your life and eliminate those that consume time without contributing to growth. Focus ensures that your attention and effort align with your highest priorities, creating a compounding effect that produces results far greater than sporadic effort. Focus and prioritization also protect you from distractions and external pressures. Life constantly presents demands, interruptions, and urgent but unimportant tasks. Without clear priorities, it's easy to respond to every request, message, or opportunity, leaving no room for the work that truly matters. Discipline and focus allows you to say no to what is irrelevant, guarding your time and energy so that your most important goals receive consistent attention. Prioritization becomes your compass, ensuring that every decision about where to direct effort is intentional. These principles cultivate efficiency and effectiveness. When you know what is essential, you stop wasting time on tasks that produce minimal impact. Focus sharpens your mind and allows you to work deeply, while prioritization gives your actions direction and purpose. Together, they turn effort into meaningful progress. The combination of concentrated effort and strategic choice multiplies results in ways that scattered activity never can, and it positions you to achieve more in less time. Focus and prioritization also strengthen decision-making. When your priorities are clear, choices become easier and more deliberate. You no longer drift or react impulsively to circumstances, but instead act with purpose aligned to your long-term objectives. This clarity reduces stress, increases confidence, and minimizes the energy wasted on indecision. The ability to consistently choose actions that matter is a hallmark of high achievers and a skill that grows exponentially with practice. By committing to focus, you develop resilience against procrastination and mental fatigue. Concentrated effort reduces the friction of starting tasks because your attention is already aligned with what needs to be done. Prioritization minimizes overwhelm by filtering out distractions and unimportant obligations, allowing you to channel energy into the most impactful work. The more you practice these habits, the more natural they become, and the more consistently you achieve results. Focus and prioritization are not just about productivity, they shape your identity. When you consistently direct your attention toward meaningful work, you reinforce the idea that you are someone who achieves, who pursues excellence, and who values results over busyness. Your habits, attention, and choices define who you are becoming. And by mastering focus and prioritization, you shape a version of yourself that is disciplined, intentional, and capable of extraordinary achievement. These principles also create leverage over time. By concentrating on high-priority tasks, your efforts produce outsized results that compound over days, weeks, and years. Focus ensures that each action contributes to your broader vision, while prioritization guarantees that the right actions are chosen consistently. Momentum is born from repeated directed effort, and it is amplified when you focus on what has the greatest impact, rather than spreading yourself thin across countless insignificant tasks. Focus and prioritization are skills, and like any skill, they require practice and intentionality. Distractions are constant, urgency is seductive, and the temptation to do less important work is ever present. Mastery comes from daily choices to redirect attention, from the discipline to start with what matters most, and from the commitment to protect your energy from anything that does not contribute to your growth. Over time, these practices create a foundation for extraordinary performance. Finally, focus and prioritization create freedom and control. When you know what matters and commit to concentrating on it, you gain mastery over your schedule, your energy, and your outcomes. Life stops dictating your actions and you begin directing them. Very decision about what to pursue, every choice about where to invest time becomes intentional rather than reactive. Focus and prioritization turn potential into progress and scattered effort into measurable achievement, building a life that reflects the choices you make rather than the chaos around you. Immediate execution is key because ideas, plans, and intentions are worthless without action. The moment you conceive a goal or recognize an opportunity, delay begins to erode its potential. Every hesitation allows doubt, fear, and distraction to creep in, reducing the likelihood that your vision will ever become reality. Execution transforms thought into progress, turning abstract concepts into tangible results. The faster you act on a plan, the more momentum you create, and momentum is the engine that carries you toward achievement. Waiting for the perfect moment is a trap disguised as prudence. Conditions are rarely ideal, resources are often limited, and uncertainty is always present. Immediate execution acknowledges that progress does not require perfection, it requires movement. By acting decisively, you bypass the paralysis that so often comes from overthinking, and you gain clarity that can only emerge through engagement. Action illuminates the path forward in a way planning alone never can. Immediate execution also builds confidence and self-trust. Every time you follow through on an idea promptly, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of creating results. Confidence is not a feeling that appears spontaneously. It is earned through consistent, decisive action. By proving to yourself repeatedly that you can move from intention to implementation, you create an internal standard of reliability that strengthens your ability to tackle larger challenges. Execution fuels learning and adaptation. Plans are theoretical until they are tested in reality. By acting immediately, you expose your ideas to feedback, allowing you to adjust, refine, and improve in real time. Waiting to perfect a strategy in isolation delays growth and increases the risk of failure when action finally occurs. Immediate execution creates a cycle of trial, feedback, and improvement, accelerating mastery and increasing the likelihood of success. Procrastination is the enemy of execution. Every moment spent postponing action is a moment wasted, during which opportunities continue to move forward without you. Delay breeds indecision, increases fear, and weakens resolve. By committing to act immediately, you take control of circumstances instead of allowing them to control you. Immediate execution turns uncertainty into opportunity, inertia into movement, and hesitation into progress. Immediate execution also builds resilience and mental toughness. Taking action before you feel ready forces you to confront fear, uncertainty, and resistance head-on. Each time you act despite discomfort, you expand your capacity to handle challenges, develop problem-solving skills, and cultivate a mindset that embraces responsibility. Execution becomes a habit, and with it comes the strength to persist under pressure and navigate complexity with confidence. Immediate execution amplifies results because timing matters. Opportunities are fleeting, and speed often determines whether you succeed or someone else does. Being decisive and prompt allows you to capture advantages, influence outcomes, and stay ahead of competition. Execution is the bridge between planning and reward, and acting swiftly ensures that the value of your ideas is realized before it diminishes. Execution transforms vision into action by turning goals into tasks and tasks into accomplishments. Without immediate implementation, even the clearest vision remains dormant. By taking the first step without delay, you activate a chain reaction that propels you forward, creating momentum and opening doors that were previously inaccessible. Immediate action makes progress inevitable because movement generates further movement and results compound over time. Immediate execution sharpens focus and prioritization. Acting promptly forces you to decide what is most important, what requires attention now, and what can wait. Indecision and delay are often symptoms of unclear priorities, but by executing immediately, you clarify your path, streamline your efforts, and eliminate distractions that do not contribute to meaningful progress. Every act of prompt execution reinforces clarity, discipline, and efficiency. Finally, immediate execution cultivates accountability and integrity. When you act without delay, you honor your commitments to yourself and your goals. You stop promising and start producing. Every decision to move immediately reinforces the principle that intentions are only as valuable as the actions that follow them. Execution creates results. Results build credibility, and credibility establishes a foundation for influence, growth, and lasting success.